Hey everybody, my name's George and I'm an addict.
Hey George.
How's it going? I got my buddy Doug here.
My name's Doug and I'm an addict.
We'd like to welcome everyone to the Conventions and Planning Best Practices Workshop. So for those of y'all who don't know me, once again, my name is George and I'm an addict. And I'm actually, I'm currently the Georgia Regional Convention Board of Directors chairperson. And so I've been involved with the Georgia Regional Convention for like 11 and a half years now. Started out doing registration, went to vice registration, then registration chair, I did activities chair, I did programming, I did vice chair of the convention, I did chair of the convention, took a year off and then came on to the board of directors. I handled the website for that convention. I processed credit cards for that convention. I handled the email accounts for the board of directors and the convention planning panel. So when I met Doug last year in San Antonio, he impressed me by telling his story. And then a few months later, I went to a service symposium that his region was having, or a workshop on this that his region was happening via Zoom on conventions. And I'm like, I love this fucking guy. So anyway, I invited him to Atlanta to help put on this workshop because it's something that's near and dear to my heart. So there you go. So why am I not in full screen? So
Start Zoom or start
slideshow.
Yeah. My name's Doug and I'm an addict. Yeah, George paints a pretty good picture of me, but I don't know. I don't quite see it that way. I've been around about 32 years. My first service involvement was at 30 Days Clean. I became the GSR for my home group. That's because at my first meeting, they wouldn't let me go to the business meeting. So that says, you know, where I've been ever since. And I've been involved in service ever since I got clean, other than I think there was 2 years where I didn't. I've sat on about somewhere between 15 and 20 conventions, served just about every position. The only positions that I've served more than once was policy positions, website management positions. And I think that's actually, technology position as well. I think those are the only positions that I've ever served more than one time. I feel that I firmly believe in rotation of service. Once you've done it, teach someone else to take your place. Although there are, one thing I said when I got clean, I will never serve as a treasurer. And to this date, I haven't. Just because I was concerned that I couldn't handle the money. Now I believe I can, yet there are other people that are more suited for it, so let them do it. So this was developed more to, not to teach you how to do things, but to show you where to find the information to make your job easier. I also had a little bit of involvement in the Conventions and Tools project that NA World Services put on. So we're going to teach you what that is, or not teach you, we're going to show you what that is and how to get to it and what you can get there. And as we go through here, the last time I did this, I said, please, no questions. We'll wait till the end and do it all. But if you have a question while we're going through it, please speak up and we'll address it. Thank you.
Okay, great. So I'm going to go right down the list, the bullet points. I'm going to run through it real quick, and then I'm going to discuss a few things that jump out at me. And like I said, my experience with the regional convention, I've also I began this process working with my area convention, and that's where I cut my teeth. And I've even helped out at the World Convention on a couple of, just as a day worker. And actually, when I went to Orlando, I worked 4 shifts. I worked 2 in registration, 1 in merchandise, and one for public relations. I was the roving reporter, and I got to chase people down in the middle of that fucking crowd and ask them about it with their experience with the app and all. But you know, it really gets me excited. So anyway, you got convention planning A to Z. You got a planning document, which is basically some guidelines. The only thing else I would add to, you know, that basic point is, you know, the people that set our stuff up way back when, they actually have timelines for the convention planning panel, and they go through those every monthly meeting. That way that the people don't come in at the last minute being expected to do shit. You know, you do need to, not only it's got finances, you don't only need to set realistic expectations on what it's going to cost you to put it on, but you have to kind of have the money going in. You know, the next thing there is, you know, when to start. You know, so there's a convention down in the south part of this state a couple of years ago. They had very little help with planning of the convention. There were only like 6 people for the entire area. They used to have about 15 groups in the area. The area split in half, 3 or 4 of the groups folded. And anyway, they had a convention, they lost a couple of $1,000. And so that area had to scramble to pay this money back. So, you know, first and foremost, you know, one thing that I do as a convention planner is I try to look and see what other events are going to be happening around the time we're planning to have our event. And, you know, and I said the little story about the people losing the money on the convention because, you know, ultimately, if we don't have finances to do it or manpower people power, excuse me, Michelle, people power to perform said convention, you know, now might not be the time to do the convention. And, you know, and if the groups, the areas, the region, whatever, are not supporting it, you know, it might not be good sense. But other than that, any time is a good time to start service efforts, you know, if not now, when. You know, then you have to come up with a committee. And you know, being my experience that just putting a warm ass in a seat is not always the best practice. You know, if they're not good with counting and they're not good with handling money and they can't balance their own checkbook, they probably don't need to be in charge of our $5,000. You know, registration can be a very tough job. You know, programming, you know, you've got to have somebody to come out and you know, try and kind of vet speakers, perform workshops and all that. I mean, in my area, when we used to reach out to the GSRs and actually request them to bring us speakers for workshops for the area convention. Then, you know, you have to find a location that's suitable. So you have to have an idea of how many people you want to be able to host. You know, part of that we struggle with, because in the fellowship, we're no longer drinking booze and all that. So we're not getting any breaks for our room rental. And like our regional convention here in the state of Georgia, we travel around to different cities every year. Some of the local conventions do get bargaining power by signing 2- and 3-year agreements, because that way they can get their room rental for the attendee at a lower rate. You know, and I've seen, I mean, you know, 20 minutes from here, I've seen us go into a convention center and our people are having to pay $130 a night room pre-COVID, and other conventions doing them for $99. Smaller conventions. And I'm like, how in the hell are y'all doing this? But, you know, there's something to be said in the bargaining power. Artwork, you've got to have decent artwork. You know, I was fortunate enough that a guy came on the committee and he was already an artist, and I challenged him and we got him to doing graphic artwork for the convention. He posts on Facebook every day, adjust for the day. And it's actually generated some traffic there that's not unhealthy traffic. Because one thing that, you know, we try not to have a bunch of negative shit. And trust me, sometimes George is the negative one. So having said that, so anyway, it's got scheduling of workshops and events. That's kind of part of laying out your program. But any good convention group is going to have fundraisers during the year. Like tonight down in Macon, the convention committee for the regional convention is having its 3rd annual cross-dressing ball. So, you know, all the guys are dressing up in drag and all the girls are dressing up like dudes. And, you know, we always try to do it around Valentine's Day and, you know, and it's been kind of lucrative. Pre-COVID, you know, we used to have 4 or 5 fundraisers every year. And that was usually good for $4,000 or $5,000 if we busted our ass and did a good job. But, you know, since then, you know, we've had some crap go on in this region to where people started scheduling events on top of each other. For years, we had a New Year's Eve dance. Well, next thing you know, we got 3 different areas in the metro Atlanta area having a New Year's Eve dance. How in the fuck are we supposed to have a fundraiser? So, you know, it's, and I'm just saying that is, you know, we had to make a decision. We're not doing anything on New Year's Eve because everybody else is doing something, just point blank. And then the last one is really something that really, you know, because like I told you, I've been doing this for years. And the next one is the bid process. And I've finally gotten to the point where I'm the one sitting at the table doing the arm wrestling with the venue. And I think I've got everything covered. And then 3 weeks away from the event, hey, we don't have any internet included in this contract. What the fuck? You know, so, you know, it's always good to have multiple set of eyes on the document. All right, I'll quit. Oh, well, you already did, didn't you? I went one too many, Doug.
Sorry.
How do you go back here? I'm in full screen.
I think you can use the arrow going the other way.
The other arrow?
The back arrow.
My other arrow? Is that it?
Nope, backwards.
I'm going the wrong way.
Yep, one more.
Oh, I see it now, down at the bottom.
Purpose.
There we go. Purpose of a convention.
Yeah, this is, we actually have a bid package that we had put together for Michigan. And in that bid package, some of the things that they requested was, okay, why do you think that we should have the convention in your area? What's your purpose? So one of the main purposes is that a convention will actually stimulate the area in terms of membership. You'll have more people that will show up. I'll bring a sponsee and that sponsee will mention it to a friend. Next thing you know, you have a bunch of people that really aren't that involved in the convention, or not in the convention, but in service. They'll attend and they'll see. At my first convention, I had 6 months clean. I remember walking in. At the time, I didn't realize how big Narcotics Anonymous was. I had no clue whatsoever. And there was about, I think there was 4,000 people at that convention. And I ran into guys that I grew up with that I didn't even know were in the program. It was like, wow. So it was an eye opener for me. So that's one of the things that we look for is, you know, why do you want to have it in your area? You know, what will it do for you? How does that help you? And next.
Oh, you're ready to move on? I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's okay.
All right. And convention guidelines should include. So we got here purpose and function, you know, and that was kind of what Doug was hitting on, promoting unity within an area or region, you know, and for me personally, I can remember having about 3.5 years clean working on a convention committee, and we're a little small convention, 250, 300 people. And I brought my desktop from home and had it hooked up to the audio at the venue. And I was doing the recording of the speakers. And this guy that I'd been sponsoring for about 10 months, he was 4 or 5 years older than I was. He was at, court ordered and drug court. And we've been doing this thing. We've been doing step work. We've been really dealing with his issues. And it was one of the first, I think it was my second sponsee that we ever went through the step work with. And the Saturday night speaker spoke. And this guy's up there and he's laying it down and he's talking about all this rough shit that happened in his life, and it'd been clean 25 years. And then they did the clean time countdown, and it goes around the room and it starts out, who got 35 years? And then Charles stood up, it's 34, whatever, and it comes all the way down to, 12 months, 9 months, 6 months. And these newcomers, they getting fired up. Everybody's clapping and raising hell. And then you get all the way down to, 3 days, whatever. We give out a few basic text or whatever. And that's just what, was suggested that we do by other addicts that had done these positions before. And my sponsee comes up to me after the meeting breaks. And this big dude, I mean, he's a big diesel mechanic, badass dude, Harley bike riding some buck. And he comes up with tears just rolling down his face. And he's like, thank you so much for staying on my ass about coming here. And I'm like, man, it's good, ain't it? It's great. He said, man, that man just told my story, man. And, and me and this dude don't work together, sponsee anymore, but he's still clean. He's been the area chair. He's chaired that fucking convention committee. He's the convention committee chair again this year. And, that's what conventions have done for me. So to me, that's the purpose, because it gets me to a point where I can go to these events and I can hear someone share that might live 300 miles away from me that I never met before, don't know no shit on them or whatever. And I can hear the unadulterated message of Narcotics Anonymous from someone that I have no preconceived bullshit with. Whatever. So anyway, administrative positions and defining their duties and responsibilities, that should be something that we do in our guidelines. This can be very difficult because you have people handling money, you have people responsible for contracts, and corporations don't sign contracts. Assholes that are in charge of corporations do. And they usually have a name, and sometimes it's George. And so it should really be clearly defined. And the more ambiguous our guidelines are, the easier it is for someone like George to steal our money, and I know that's uncomfortable, but, I've been to jail in the state of Georgia 35 times. Y'all let me carry the checkbook today. I did not make it here by singing too loud in church. So just pay attention to what you're doing. Pay attention to the money. This is the fellowship's money. And, and I think we all have a responsibility to make sure that it's spent well. And I will also say this, that a lot of people knock conventions about this. They say it's all about the money. It's all about the money. Well, in the Georgia region, thanks to the East Coast Convention, it gave our past board chair the idea. We started donating basic text every year to H&I, so the H&I region could send basic text to the prisons in the state of Georgia. 2 years ago, we gave them like $2,000 worth of books, right? So the next year, me being the group PR man that I am, I said, well, we can't give it all to H&I. We need to give some money to PR. So we're doing that now too, But I mean, at the end of the whole point I'm trying to make, if we're going to put $5,000 of the fellowship money out there, we need to get that $5,000 back so we can put it somewhere else in the fellowship. If we're not, if it ain't making progress, it don't make no sense. I'm sorry, I just had to say that. Trusted servant clean time requirements and removal process. In December, had a guy on our committee, fine fella, got got 3 kids. I love him to death like a brother. This is his second go around with the committee. He came back on there. He was supposed to have been there in September with 3 bids for a $6,000-7,000 merchandise order. Made it all the way to December. He didn't have no merchandise order ready. So me as chairman of the corporation had to go to the rest of the group and say, okay, we're 120 days out. We got to do something. We ain't going in there with no t-shirts and no coffee mugs. You know, you ain't got my damn hoodie. Where's my hoodie? So we took it over, and you know, then everybody on the committee got pissed with the board of directors because we had to take it over. But the fact of the matter is, our chair and our vice chair of the committee didn't reel this shit in before December. If they would have, I would have never had to pull the trigger. But you know, at the end of the day, there needs to be clean timelines of what we're going to do, what's expected. That way, the person that's their first year on the committee knows what the hell's expected of them. You know, it's one thing for me to say, I'm expecting Doug to have the damn pizza next Friday night for the fundraiser. But if I don't tell him till lunchtime on Friday, that's probably not good planning. Anyway, so he's got voting procedures and quorum requirements. That was another thing we've always done. Robert's Rules of Order. We took them to I'm sorry, I'm going way too deep here. So anyway, you need to come up with a process of voting and quorum. We're actually doing consensus-based decision making now. So damn it, I did it again. You still got that slide up?
Yeah, I do.
Regularly scheduled meetings and procedures. Most convention committees I've ever been on met once a month. Budget processes. You really need to put your budgets in right before the convention actually happens. That way you'll have an approved budget by the time the next committee starts. That's a good practice. How to amend these guidelines. Generally, that's an inside the committee process, because even though they are a subcommittee of the area or the region, they usually handle their own business. Bid committee processes. That's something that our group, really don't have in writing. As far as, the actual venues. Addendums and sample documents. I don't have any examples for that, but he's got budget forms, motion forms, agendas. We actually use the same regional forms and expense reports that the region uses for ours. So, and then timelines for the process. There you go. So, is that the next slide? Is the finances?
Yeah, I'd like to speak to the last slide.
Go ahead.
So these slides all have names underneath them, who does them.
Right.
The convention guidelines, this list is the things that you should have in your guidelines. They're not exact, but what it boils down to is this will help you look at your needs and everything else and define those, and you may miss something. So you look at this and you say, oh, well, I never thought about a bid process. Do we actually use that? No, we don't. So it's not needed. Or yes, we do. Now, how do we define that? So later on in this slideshow, there's actually a link to the Wisconsin website, which does have a forum that you can use for a bid process. That's if your convention rotates around from one area to the next, to the next, to the next, all dependent on needs, requests. And you are next one.
You ready to go?
Yeah. Well, this one, again, wasn't me, finances. So you want to cover this? You're better at finances, just
I
a
don't
little
know
bit
about
shorter.
that. So it says open a separate bank account. Generally, the bank accounts for conventions are separate from areas or regions. Like in our region, the board of directors, or GREC Inc., the Georgia Regional Convention Incorporated, we're a 501c4 and it's separate from the region. Last year during the pandemic, we did not do a convention in person because we couldn't, because of the health, the pandemic, and we literally got sued for $40,000. Now, we only paid off about $5,000. That's what the board of directors told me to do. I was opposed to it. But in any regards, us having a separate bank account and the board being a separate entity from the region was not liable for any of that money. Just saying everything would have went south and they would have had us on the hook for $40,000. They would have been going after the convention group, not the region. Okay. Prudent reserve. You need to figure out what the prudent reserve is. You know, 2,000, 5,000. You know, ours is 25,000, and it takes about 50,000 to put on the convention, and that was the pre-pandemic. We really don't know what it's going to cost because we hadn't put one on in 2 years. All right, it'll depend on your various needs. Use multiple trusted servants to manage funding during the event. And I was looking over that the other night, Doug, and the biggest thing I got of that is we need to have 2 or 3 people checking each other's book work, making sure, you know, nobody's fucking up the money. And says always a minimum of 2 members counting large sums of money. And okay, oh, I went one too many. There you go. When should we start playing it?
Okay, so one of the things that we talked about in financing as well is that the previous slide, but that you don't have to go back. I just want to bring this up before we move on. So when you start planning your convention, okay, when you start planning your convention, where you get your money from, right? Fundraisers and all that stuff. Well, something that you might want to consider pre-convention shirts, but it can't be the same logo that you use at your convention. It has to be different. And your question?
We have a question online from WNC number 8.
You want me to unmute him? You go ahead. Go ahead.
Hi, I'm an addict named Mart. I have a question about the requirements that you had said about, you know, having all your requirements for your
Breaking up.
so in your procedures. I'm sorry, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Do you put in your procedures procedures on how to override the requirements for a position? So if your treasurer or vice chair is supposed to be 3 years and they only have 2, do you have procedures for that?
No, we do not.
Do you ever waive requirements?
We do. Is there a
Can you do that
procedure?
without a procedure?
Yes, we do. I don't know what George does, but it depends on the procedure. Now, if it's treasurer, no, we don't override that.
Right.
If it's,
I agree.
yeah, if it's like convention information, yeah, we can override that if they've done work with PR or something like that. If they seem to be presentable, they seem to know what they're doing, we'll override that for them. Ideally, you want them to have experience in that particular area because that's the face of your convention. Somebody will see that. And again, they represent the convention. So if they get a bad flavor from that, your convention does too. That make sense?
It does, but then shouldn't they be, instead of requirements, suggestions on positions that it doesn't matter?
Well, yeah. My name's George. I'm an addict. I mean, you know, we have to be realistic. It's kind of like that movie in The Godfather where the lawyer's talking to the old man and they're in the back of the car and he's saying, should I make sure all these dealers got clean records? And he said, well, you can ask for it, but you know, realistically it is that, you know, some of the folks that are going to show up are not going to meet the requirements. And it's not exactly the same with H&I, you know, to where we're not going to let somebody that doesn't have 6 months share in an H&I presentation meeting in a facility somewhere. You know, these people here is a hospitality vice chair or something like that. But, you know, when, like Doug was stating, you know, we never yield on treasurer.
Right.
We never yield on treasurer. And because, you know, you just because they got 10 years don't mean they won't steal the money either. But, you know, you know, usually the committee can always make the decision to waive clean time, but you know, that's been my experience. But when it comes to the money positions, registration, merchandise, and especially treasurer, we never waive that, you know.
So you have a good example, arts and graphics, say it's a year clean, you need a year clean to be arts and graphics chair. You cannot get that position filled. That's a critical position. You can't start your merchandise until you get that logo, or, you know, so many things are dependent on that. So do you accept somebody with 90 days clean that, you know, they appear to be stable, they don't handle any money other than maybe the banner, there are certain things they might handle. Would you give them that opportunity? That's the question you have to ask yourself. Do you trust them? Because now you are responsible for them. If you allow them people to take that position and they don't meet the clean time requirements, that's your responsibility, not theirs. It's yours. Make no mistake. Okay?
Okay, thank you. That was just why I asked if you have guidelines for waiving it, for waiving your requirements.
No, we do
Okay.
not.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
You ready to go?
Yes, let's move on.
All right, George can find the mouse. Oh, way to go, dummy. There we go. All right, let's see here.
You went too far.
I know. Is this it?
Yes.
There we go, right there. All right, committee position. So here you go. He's got it. We've got it laid out right here. Administrative, the chair, vice chair, treasurer, co-treasurer, secretary, and co-secretary. Always with any subcommittee, I've had the pleasure to be able to try and lead or whatever. Secretary is such an important position, and anyone else that has a position, because if they don't turn in a report, and now the day with electronics, you memorialize your report every month. If you don't turn in a report in writing somewhere, somehow, it's just like it never fucking happened. You know, and you know, that stuff has bit me in the rear end. One year I was registration chair, and our chair at the time was a lady, Naomi B. That's my mama's name too, Naomi. She said, if we don't memorialize it, it's just like it never happened. And then a couple of years down the road, I was the chair. I didn't send in a report, and I tried to tell 3 people I done told them something. They're like, couldn't find it anywhere in my notes. And the boy, and it just bit me in the rear end. But anyway, your subcommittees, some of what Doug has touched on. Arts and graphics is a very intricate part. You got to have artwork to do your process. Like he talked about pre-convention T-shirts. That's something we do on oh yes, pre-convention T-shirts. We sell them on Sunday mornings, and then we'll do another pre-convention shirt like September, and then have more shirts in March. We love some damn T-shirts. You know we do, Charles. Your programming is huge. Registration is huge. If I don't have registration, the convention don't bring no money.
That's right.
You know, that's my favorite. I'm married to that. Convention information. Doug also had put in here, IT,
Yeah.
and huggers, serenity keepers. You know, now, I mean, you know, we got social media. These kids are on Snapchat, they're on Instagram, Grandma and Pawpaw and all of us, we on Facebook or whatever, you know. We have put our entire catalog of the Georgia Regional Convention on YouTube now. We took everybody's names completely off. You might recognize somebody if you listen to the speaker tape long enough, but other than that, you know, it's totally anonymous. We got like 85 hours of speaker submissions, workshops, and main speakers on YouTube. You know, we can really get crazy with this shit, but those, and if anybody wants a copy of this, you can always email me at webmaster@grcna.org, and I will email you a copy of this PowerPoint. So this was the second slide. He's got down there at the bottom, many registration committees are called tickets and registration. And then of course the IT, all right, there we go. We need to go on, don't we?
Yeah.
Location. Is this when you?
No, go ahead.
Okay,
But you gotta
find
keep it short.
find a hotel that can accommodate the size of your convention. If you're gonna bring in 3,000 people, don't go to the smallest hotel in town. Meet with the hotel management to negotiate your contract. Sometimes it's good to have 2 or 3 of you there. Usually hotels and hospitality subcommittee or group would handle that. Watch for hidden costs and red flags. You know, it's one thing that my previous chair told me the other day, don't you sign them on contract with these people till you finish this event, because you don't know what the hell the final bill is going to be. Make sure everything is in writing. If it's not in writing, it didn't happen, just like Naomi told me. All right, artwork merchandise.
Okay, this again was my partner that helped with this. Good artwork sells merchandise. So if you make something, you're like, okay with it. Yeah, you don't want to do it. You want people to look at it and say, yeah, I want that. So just keep that in mind when you're developing it. Normally what we do is we'll have, we go through a process of getting our artwork. We'll develop sheets and then we'll pass them around and everybody gets up, looks at them and votes on it. They pick 3 and then we narrow that down. Once we get our 3 that everybody's happy with, then we all pick 1 out of that. And that's the process we do to choose ours. Keep in mind too, when you're looking at artwork, 4 colors means 4 times the price. It's going to cost you more. That doesn't mean go with black and white necessarily, but just keep in mind, you know, we've used 4-color artwork before. It does get pricey. And always use licensed NA vendors whenever you can. If you can't, you can't. You know, it is what it is. But I have been to a convention where they had the other fellowships merchandise on the table, and I like lost it. But you know, I mean, I lost it, and at the time I was regional co-chair, so yeah, it got ugly, but they did get it off the table. Next one.
I'm sorry, y'all. I'm sorry.
Right.
I love you, Doug. You're the man. Scheduling of workshops and events. Plan for, yes, this is huge. Always, if you can, this is something when you go through the negotiating of your contracts, a lot of the times we don't think about marathon meetings until we get there. But, you know, there are people that are going to come to your event, whether it's 200 people or 10,000 people. They're going to be scared to fucking death of all these big crowds. And they're still struggling. They're still addicts. They are still trying to learn how to live without using dope and change the way they feel. They need a meeting. It is really nice to have a place to pile in. And like, you know, like when I went to Charles and them's convention, you know, we sat up till 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, 5 or 6 of us in a meeting. And that was healing for me because, you know, I didn't have to worry about only being able to share 2.78 minutes. You know, we were just nice, honest sharing. We didn't know each other personally that well. And marathon meetings are huge. But you also got to monitor them, keep them clean, keep readings in there, make sure there ain't nobody in there carrying on predatory behavior. Plan for a hospitality room and who's going to be responsible for it. We have a hospitality subcommittee. You know, a lot of these places, like here this weekend, we could not bring any damn food in here. You know, some of them will let you if you set it up. You know, we've had hospitality chairs that would, you know, bring coolers of shit. She'd cook and all kind of stuff. The lady was a caterer. And then we've had other venues to where all we could do was bring in like, you know, prepackaged snack cakes and stuff. But, you know, there will be newcomers that are going to show up. There'll be people that show up that don't have no damn money. They're not going to be able to go out and eat 23 times over the weekend. And so, you know, that's something to just keep in mind. Number of workshops per time slot, he's got 2 to 3. If you don't have enough people to man these things, You know, it's just like peeing in the wind. Do whatever you decide to do well. If you know, if you're starting out, start small. You can always add more later, right? Are we gonna have a banquet on Saturday? You know, it's a huge cost. The last 5, 6, 7 years in our convention, you know, we've actually been eating about $5 a banquet ticket. We finally went up on everybody, and they're like, "What the hell? You want me to pay $45 for some baked chicken?" You know, and yeah, I get it. You know, and so anyway, but that's something to think about. And something they have in here is brunch on Sunday. Say, you know, multiple meals will help you eat up. It will give you bargaining power when dealing with the facility. And that's something we've struggled at because people don't want to pay the high price. Right. But, you know, but at the end of the day, if your group can go in there and negotiate and say, we're going to spend $8,000 in F&B over 3 meals, and you could actually collect $8,000 out of the fellowship, that'll give you some bargaining power when you're trying to get your room rate dropped. Anyway, that may have been more than you want to know. Entertainment, dances, karaoke. We usually try to have a comedian or something. One time we had a hypnotist, and we ain't been able to get that dude back. But entertainment is great because, I mean, it's, you know, this is kind of, we're showing our newcomers and old timers and some timers, you know, you can have fun here. You can have a good time. You got anything else on that, buddy?
Yeah, one of the things I want to add too, the banquet on Saturday. Yeah, you're spending a lot of money for food that might not be great, but you're also buying a seat for the open speaker.
Mm.
They sit up front. That's one little thing.
We do hot dogs, hamburgers, chips and drinks, you know, and water. We don't do soda, we just do water, right? We got coffee pots, right? You know what I mean? We're selling merchandise, right? Just got a little hospitality that keep that going all day, right? Just because they come and be hungry. Plus our hotel, eat free company and break. Right, so
Right.
we got some little incentive with that. It do shut down to a point, but we working when we get some more extra stuff, right? And negotiate.
Just so you know, I have a feeling that everybody on Zoom probably couldn't hear you. So if you speak up again, you have to be louder.
Our convention gives Cerulean South free continental breakfast, right? But we do have hot dogs, chips, and water and coffee throughout the whole convention.
Okay. And what was your name? I'm sorry.
Charles L.
Thanks, Charles. Next slide.
Okay, and if you're online, this is the link that Doug was talking about. There's also a QR code on there for the bid process. I would highly suggest going to this website and finding that. Like I said, if y'all will email, put your email in the chat. Michelle's gonna, you know, copy that down, make a list, send all this out for us tonight when she ain't doing nothing for a nail. I'm joking. But anyway, this is a great tool, and I'll be happy to send it to you. You can go to grcna.org and send an email to that site, and it'll come straight to me. I will get that to you. So follow up after the convention.
Oh, you do have a hand up.
Oh, great. Hell yeah.
Tracy, we're gonna unmute you.
You go ahead, girlfriend.
Yeah, hey, I'm Trey. I'm an addict. Question, might be jumping the gun a little bit. Might should have waited to the end. But we're doing a convention here in the Greensboro area in North Carolina right now, and it's been a pretty small convention traditionally. And just wanted to see if you guys had any suggestions on how to grow a convention, because you know we have a large NA community here. There's a ton of people who go to meetings or in meetings, but we also have some problems with lack of support for the convention, and seems like a lot of people feel like that the convention's not important and we shouldn't be spending money on that kind of old school kind of thinking. And because I hear everything you guys are saying, my experience is very much the same. I got clean, first convention I went to, it blew my mind. I mean, it was like, okay, I can have fun here. I was 19 years old. I needed to know that, and that's how that message was carried to me. But we'd like to grow it. I know it's going to take time. It's not going to happen overnight, be kind of incremental. But, when you guys first started trying to do, because we used to have a Carolina regional convention, it was big, but this is a little small area convention. And, we'd like to see it grow, like to see it be more diverse. But yeah, I mean, any suggestions you guys have about that?
I do actually. Go to your areas, your regions, present it to them that there's a couple of different suggestions here. One is that every time they have an event, you can donate one of your registration packages to them to give off at an auction. Well, what happens is somebody will win that registration package. Well, they're not going to go alone. They're going to bring somebody. They're going to bring a sponsee who may bring their wife, whatever. Those are kind of what you do. And then you can present it to an area that can purchase registrations from you to hand out to newcomers that you feel, that's a good way to get them involved in Narcotics Anonymous. So they come to that convention again. They're going to bring a friend. They're going to bring their sponsor, whatever. So it kind of grows that way. Does that help you at all? George, you have anything?
Well, actually I do. So I'll tell you one thing, we have some members in our region that they don't mind donating a little bit of money. So, we reach out to everyone in our region, and ask for newcomer donations. And what you can do is like, let's just say you're having a convention in Greensboro. There's some treatment centers somewhere there around Greensboro. You put you take your convention hat off and put your PR H&I hat on, and you call them people and you say, hey, if you'll get some asses over here on Saturday, April the 12th, we'll, put them in some workshops, show them a little bit about NA, whatever, and give some of them away. And another thing that, is very, very important is information. My committee, my board laughs at my ass, but I call it information farming. Because if I sell you a registration, if I sell you a T-shirt, and now see, credit card processing is huge in there. Because, we went at our regional convention, we went from handling $30,000, $40,000 in a weekend time, cash money, to now we're running $25,000, $28,000 in cards and $2,000 in cash. So that's huge. See, but if you come, Trey, if you bring your credit card and you buy a T-shirt for me, I'm going to have your damn email and your phone number. And next year when we have an event, my ass is sending you an email saying, Trey, please come to this event. And it takes time, dude, and you got to be persistent. And some people are going to when you send them the first email, you don't see them at one, and they're going to unsubscribe to your list. Well, you wasn't trying to sell to them anyway. You just want to sell to the people that want to be sold to. But my biggest suggestion is don't give up. Just keep digging, man. You put on a good product with good speakers, and one thing I always tell my committees and my board before we walk out the door, and Lord knows I'm the worst one about walking out with a frown on my face, looking like, service with a smile. Everybody be happy and just be happy, and everybody around you will be happy. And because, by the time Saturday night gets there, your ass gonna be tired. But, and this goes right to this follow-up thing right here. After the convention's over with, I would always sit down and I would try and get everybody to share with what their experience was. Because some of you done it 3 or 4 times and you just ready to get home to the girlfriend and the wife and the husband. Some of them kids are men and women, that's their first one they ever done. And it's Sunday morning and they done had just a mind-blowing weekend. They didn't know what the fuck was going to happen. They done heard some good shit, seen some good shit, and they still clean and they want to sign back up. So let them share, let them talk about it. And we do need to be critical with our thinking. The next line says what can be changed to make it better. Write a report, write it down, memorialize it. So, you got some ideas. And then you can begin to work for your committee for the future conventions. This is actually committee for future conventions and the archives. That was another thing that happened to me a couple of years ago. I realized I had been on this convention committee for the region for like over 10 years. And I realized that I had been going to this regional convention for like 17, 16 years. All these committees I worked on, I didn't have any pictures of the merchandise. I didn't have none of that shit. And, records are great. It's history. It's the history of your area. Okay, sorry. So the next slides will be covering two different spreadsheets, and Doug's gonna tell y'all about them because he's a spreadsheet kind of a guy.
Okay, before we move on, there is one thing that was in the notes that George didn't see. He can't see this. Is that so on follow-up at the end of your or at the beginning of your convention in your registration package, put a survey. How do you like this? What could we do to improve this? And they can turn in at any time during the weekend. And that, that gives you something to go on. So, yeah.
And you can also do them on Survey Monkey, Trey.
Right. Yeah.
So all these kids can do it on their phone.
Okay, so now what I'm going to show you here, I'm going to try and go through it quickly. If you have questions, then please speak up. This is all information that's available to you on NAWS, on the NAWS website. And I will give you that information on where to find it. There's multiple ways to get to it. It's quite detailed, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it. I'm not going to answer a lot of questions on these. At the end of these two spreadsheets, there's a couple other ones that I created or I had a hand in creating that we'll show you when we get to them. So this is,
You ready to move?
yeah. That was a detailed month by month spreadsheet. Now this one is the same spreadsheet, only further down the list, and it shows more information. Again, these are available for you. So to explain this, we could spend days on this.
And this is to help you with your budgeting, right? You put out a big number at the beginning for the full year, and then the spreadsheet helps you see what you spent. Sorry, Doug.
No, that's fine.
All right, I got you on the
Okay.
sample.
Where we at? Sample page 1.
Right, you want to keep going?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, I'm lost.
Okay, here, I'll go.
No,
back.
you're right. You're good.
Okay.
I'm sorry. All right, this is the second spreadsheet. I like this one a little bit better. It's again more detailed. You notice the tabs across the bottom: expenses, income, profit and loss summary. And we'll go through, I think, each one of those pages to give you a brief idea what they show. This is expenses. The next one will be
Income.
you can use your arrow keys to move
Oh.
down.
Well, you
Down.
taught me something. Okay, my bad, Daddy.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Well, it works either way. I'm sorry. This is income. This is the second page.
We don't ask for experience, we give it.
Yeah, well,
Right. So this is the, where you at, the income
yeah,
statement?
you want to go to profit and loss?
Sure.
Okay.
Again, this is just to give you an idea what's available. Okay, that is the two spreadsheets that you can get online. You can go to the next one. And this is the link. So if he sends you the spreadsheet, you can take a picture of that with your phone and you'll have the link right there. It's in two different ways. You can click on the convention events resource material and it will take you there. The next few slides will show you how to navigate the screens on NAWS. So this one here, if you look, notice the arrow, that is your local service resources. And then the next screen will be projects and surveys. Both of those will take you to this information. So then the next screen is the first this is the local services resource link. Notice at the top, this is where it takes you. So then you click on where the arrow is, convention and events. And that takes you to this page here, which is the local service resources. And then you click on the top one, contract support material. And it actually takes you to the next page. You click on convention and events tools project. Oh, this is from the project and surveys link. It's kind of confusing. Get the PowerPoint. It'll be really clear when you look at this, you look at the web page, you'll say, oh, now I get it. And this is where you get the information. This is everything that you would want. Clean time countdown. That's a PowerPoint presentation that you can show on a slide that starts at, I think, 40 years. It could even be 60 years. I don't remember now. And then each slide is a separate year. And then when you get down to 1 year, it breaks it down to months.
Some of y'all
And then to days.
got about 55 years.
Yeah.
I put a link to it in the chat.
Thank
Pardon me?
you.
I put a link to it in the
Okay,
chat.
perfect,
Thank
perfect.
you.
I usually charge for that, but okay. So, and then this is two formats, the document and the PDF. You can obviously edit the document, the PDF you can't. And next page is more stuff. This is program. I'm sorry,
Oh,
you're going too fast.
I know. I don't know what Charles did. Conventions and events, or you want to go back
more.
one more?
One,
One
yeah,
more?
right there.
Oh, I'm sorry. That good?
I like making George run around like this. This is fun. So money management support materials, program committee support materials. Each one of these, like this one has a speaker release form, speaker evaluation form, things like that. These are things that will make your job so much easier. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. And then the next one again is another link to the convention
Trey
project.
emailed me. All right. Way to go, Trey. I got you, baby.
And more information again. And I'm not going to cover all this stuff. You get in there, browse around, you'll find stuff. You'll be amazed at what's there.
And
Go ahead.
And one thing, if this page that we're on right now, you can see on webinar and events, last year during the pandemic, we actually had a whole convention virtually. This thing's even got formats laid out there, how to train your people that are running the Zoom rooms and all that stuff. There's a bunch of stuff out there, guys.
I want to say too, there are two ways to get to this information. They're not the same. They take you through different directions and they bring up different information. You will eventually get to the same spot maybe, but it keeps changing. So you have, like I say, two ways. Try them both. If you got some time, sit down, you'll be amazed at what's there. And more stuff here, a lot of Excel spreadsheets and everything. And go ahead, next one. These are the money management tools. So those two links that I showed earlier, this is where it takes you. Cash payout form, check request form, et cetera, et cetera. And now the back, yeah, no. The responsibility and keep going forward the other way. And the restitution agreement. One more. That's it.
Ooh.
This is a form that you use whenever somebody's handling money. You want them to sign something saying that they're going to be responsible. They're not going to mismanage money. And if they do, they are responsible to pay it back. And that's what this form is. This is one of the forms that's on the website.
I need that.
Yeah. Well, this,
Oh,
yeah.
I need that.
This is available on NAW's website under their convention tools. And then
Baby.
the next spreadsheet. This one here might not be on the website. This is something that I don't want to say that I created it. I modified it extensively.
Okay.
So you see that everything is in yellow. That's what's called conditional formatting. Once something is entered in that box, that color goes away. So you can at a glance look and see what's missing. You know, you can say, oh, well, we don't have a last name. We don't have an address. You don't need it, but you can see what's missing. All right. That's anal. I get a little anal sometimes. So going down in the, you see where it says registrations across the top, registrations total, and it has 7. Those are protected cells. You can't type into those as long as this spreadsheet is protected. And there's a reason for that. You see the big fat arrow, there's a formula behind that. So I can go down the list on the side where it has the 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. Every time I put a number in there, it adds the amount of the registration. Now I have to add that registration amount because the amount varies, right? At the convention, we would sell them for $15, you know, for next year's event. And then as soon as you leave, it goes up to 20. And then in a few months or whatever, 6 months, it goes up to 25. At on site, it might be 35. So that's why that is, it's a variable. All right. And then we have the 3 columns to the right of that: comedy, buffet, and brunch. You set the amount in the top right, comedy, buffet, and brunch. And I wish I had my pointer to show you, but you set the amount there. So then all you have to do is put a number in the column for comedy, brunch, or whatever. It will add that total at the top and then add that total across where it says grand total. This will give you a total amount, a running amount, every time you enter any information. I like that. So that's a spreadsheet I have. I gave it to Steve Roush a month or so ago. If it hasn't already, Steve R, should I say that? Anyway, if it hasn't already gotten up, he said he was going to put it up. And then the next one, clean time calculator. So you have people that come in and you have sheets set out because we want to announce we've got 10,000 years clean at this convention. So a lot of times we'll do that. And how do you enter that information into a database as you're going through the convention? It takes time, it takes a lot of time. So you can have them put on the sheet. Used to be, we would have them put the date down, or not the date, how many months, how many years, how many days clean that they have, and you would total that up. Well, now they just put the date down. That's all you need is the date. So now that date can be entered as 1/1/1 or 1-1-1, and it will automatically do everything else. That's all you have to do. And I think this will, I think I have it set up to like 5,000 people. I'm not sure, maybe not. So then you can look on the right and you can see total days, total years, average number of days. This convention has an average number of 19.8 years for the members.
That's
So
pretty good.
that's another spreadsheet that I have. And I'm not sure if they have it on NAS or not, but you're welcome to have them. You know, I didn't develop them to keep them to myself. And that's it.
Good job.
Questions?
So we got anybody else online there that's got any questions?
No questions?
Now that's coming, I'm in comment, you know, I wasn't good in this workshop, but I decided to come in, right? Because because of part conviction by me being a more experienced member and handling money and holding multiple hats, right? You know, I try to encourage people to come along and help out in this convention effort, right? Had a lot of the money, because we had some situations happen before with the money. So I try not to get caught up in that. I think when our last conventions, we had 2 area members, 2 region members come in and look at what we were doing and gave us some input, right, on how to do things a little better, a little expeditious. I'm kind of old school. Right now, I'm trying to get the Cash App and some more stuff on my phone. I'm gonna change my phone to iPhone. Maybe it'll work a little better than what I got. So, you know, I want to make sure that everybody have a nice time and we do things appropriately at our convention. Like, you know, we in the Georgia region, what Georgia region is about, and what we do and from what we say we don't do, right? And make sure our guests are appreciated for coming out. right, and helping us celebrate this little convention.
Yeah, well,
You know,
George threatened me. That's
you
all we
know,
got.
and, you know, one of the things we get, because the way we at, because I went to the city hall, I had to tell people, if they see the police going around, that's a freebie, right? Because they want us to have a nice time, and nobody breaking our cars, right? So, if you out there messing around, not in pool, right? But it's close to the airport, right on 95, everything went pretty good, right? But we always invite our people like George and them to come in and see what we're doing and make sure, give us some input for the next event.
Good.
We do have free content record, by the way.
Yeah.
So I just want you to know, if you, I don't know if you saw or not, while we were going through this, I was writing down a little bit. I'm also taking notes. You know, I heard George say some things that I thought was a good idea as well. That's not in here, something that maybe we don't practice, things like that. So it's learning for me as well.
Kind of behind George to read.
You have
I'm
what?
looking at some stuff that I need to address in the next area.
Right, right. So any other questions?
I do not see any hands up.
Well, we sure appreciate everybody that came online and everybody that was here in person. I'm committed to public relations. I'm committed to H&I. I do all kinds of different stuff, but I'm, you know, other than my grandson and my clean time, I don't know there's anything I'm more committed to than convention work. Cause it's changed my life. It's expanded my network so much over the years. And some of the greatest people I've ever met has been at conventions, you know, and it's a worthy endeavor.
Yeah, I will say too, I've done a lot of different services over the years, and I found convention work to be the most rewarding. I mean, you sweat and you fret and you think that it's not going to work, and you're telling yourself, God, this thing is going to crash and burn, even right up till the day of the convention. I mean, you're like dying, you know it's going to fail, but then it doesn't, and it's like the greatest feeling.
Oh yeah, Saturday night hits and I'm out of registrations. I'm a happy son of God.
We also have, I don't know if we have what's called a town meeting, and that's at the end of the convention. The people that on Sunday morning, when everything is over and done with, we have a recovery meeting for the people that were on the committee, and we call it a town meeting for a reason. You better bring one because it's filled with tears, and it's a great little meeting. You get to air everything out. If you had problems, usually it's about gratitude.
Yeah,
You know,
sometimes
it gets very emotional. You just spend a year together. Yeah, it's pretty rewarding. I think that's all we got. A little early.
Thank y'all.
Thanks for attending.
Thanks for coming, everybody.